Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Deep Thoughts. And today we are talking about Rise Up Animal Road Episode 4, Demon Beast X Part-Time Job. Before we get into things though, I do want to give a big shout out to my boy at Digimon Fan for Life for sharing last week's video over on Twitter. And hey, if you too would like to have your name shouted out in next week's Kemono Michi video, then be sure to share this video around on the internet and then tag me at JoJo Talks Too Much over on Twitter, and I will be sure to shout your name out in next week's video. Okay, so with that said, we are pretty much gonna go ahead and dive right into this one, and I can't think of a better place to start with than the opening scene of this week's episode, that being with the princess who we are reunited with. I feel like it's been quite some time since we last saw this character or really heard anything about her. After the whole introduction, she just kind of got brushed aside for like the rest of the plot and the characters, which is fine because, you know, that's what I was interested in. So seeing her, I was like, oh yeah, I kind of forgot you existed. Just like how last week I was like, oh yeah, Demon King or Demon whatever the heck, yeah, thing that we were sent here to stop. Totally forgot that existed. That's weird. Like it was one of those things where every time I'm reminded of what the plot, quote unquote, should be, I'm always like, oh yeah, I forgot Genzo was sent here for an actual purpose other than to open a pet shop. I mean, I was so much more interested in the pet shop. So I was like, oh yeah, that's right, Princess. What was her name again? Princess something or other? Princess, Princess Buttocks. That's right, Buttocks. That is somehow equal parts one of the most juvenile things I've seen in an isekai, and also probably one of the few jokes that I would have probably written myself if it wasn't already written in stone as part of canon, because that's probably what I was honestly going to call her, or something like that. So it was like when I saw that the world itself was referring to her as Princess Buttocks, I was like, yep, that's what I would do too. I feel bad because it's like this poor princess wanted nothing to do. You know, she just wants to save her kingdom. She just wants to save her kingdom from these monsters. That's at least that's what she sees them as. We know that they're actually giant cuddle buddies, but she sees them as monsters. And I mean, that's fair. They are wrecking the countryside, as it were. So, of course, she just wants to summon the hero and save the day. That's what every other isekai does. She wasn't expecting to get suplexed into oblivion and have her buttocks shown to the world, or at least to her knights and her, whatever they are, priests, I suppose. So this poor friggin' princess, doomed forever to be Princess Buttocks till the day she passes into the Grey Havens. Poor thing. I wonder what she's going to do when she sees Genzo again. I guess we'll have to wait and see, because sadly that doesn't happen in this week's episode. That is kind of funny, though. They introduce her again, and then they don't actually use her in this week's episode. Funny that. But at least she doesn't have it half as bad as poor Shigure. my newest waifu, one of my newest top-tier waifus, Shigure. At first, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, when I was first introduced to Carmilla, I was like, oh no, okay, so Shigure has competition. No, she does not. No, she most certainly does not. The poor friggin' girl. Shigure is the sole person in this house actually working to keep the dang thing, because the other two are freeloaders, and Genzo is a fool. Genzo is Boo Boo the fool, because this man cares not for money. He cares only about the animals, but doesn't realize that you need the money to take care of the animals. I mean, he realizes that, but he's just terrible at getting it. And so poor Shigure has been unfortunately tasked with, you know, keeping everybody afloat. And like I said, the other two are freeloaders. Hanako and Carmilla aren't really contributing much. They're just sort of there as, they may as well just be other demon beasts that are just kind of hanging out, because that's how Genzo treats it, that's how they treat it, so, you know, why would they do otherwise? And poor Shigure is just left to take care of everything, literally everything. Make money, take care of the animals, like actually proper, and actually try to get the others to move when they need to. And Shigure is resourceful. She is pretty, she is cool, she is spunky, she's clever. I like her a lot. She's top tier, whereas with Carmilla, I like her in the sense that I was like, she could be my trashy waifu, in the same way that I love Aqua from Konosuba. Again, same creator, so that does make sense. But I was like, you know what, Shigure is more a waifu type. Like, Carmilla would be fun to hang out with in context of, like, that group. But as, like, a waifu, I don't know about that. I mean, maybe, because I like me trashy waifus, but at the same time, I don't know. Whereas I know with Shigure, like, if you're there, she's there. Like, if she puts in 100% to the relationship and you put in 100% to the relationship, it would equal 100 because she's out here giving her best to this group and she wants to help Genzo realize his dream. Like Shigure is top tier. Carmilla is also top tier, but just in different ways. And I would sooner wifey up Shigure, but I do love Carmilla as well. She is great. And the thing is, like, as much as I do feel bad for Shigure, I can't lie. I would probably live with them, like, if I were in that world. And I know some people would be like, what? But I kind of would. Like, I would be like the one who stays at home and cleans. Like that's what I would do. I'd be like, you guys can go try to get monsters. I'm gonna hang out with my boy Giant Ant-Man. And I don't mean Giant Scott Lang. I mean an actual man who is an ant, or an ant who is a man, or a whatever. I'm gonna hang out with the ant guy and we're gonna clean up the house while y'all are gone. Like, that's what I would do. Because, like, think of all the demon beasts. Like, hanging out with all the demon beasts, that'd be kind of interesting. Some of them are a little scary, but, like, some of them are kind of cool. Like, I want to hang out with a griffin. Imagine getting to hang out with Buckbeak all day. That would be friggin' rad. And, like, hanging out with Genzo, top tier Genzo. And of course, toppest, highest tier waifu Shigure, who you would have to probably, listen to her complain about the others. But I mean, like, that's 110% okay. And when it comes to Genzo, like, he's a good boy, but he's also a little bit, like, insane. And not, like, in a terrible way. Like, he's still fun to hang out with. And I thought for a second, right? I was like, Genzo's trying to break up a happy home when he's trying to hit on the older neighbor, who I was not even aware was older than him. But yeah, the older neighbor, and she's married to a kobold. I forget the actual name, but it's like a lizard man, and she's married, and he's like, that's okay, I can love both of you. And I was like, my guy, beautiful bi-star Genzo. So Genzo confirmed bi. Kind of rad. Genzo also confirmed to be furry and scaly, but we kind of knew that already, so that's not really a surprise. But yeah, bi representation in my shows. I'll take that. That's freaking dope. With all that said, though, yeah, it was high time that the others tried to at least attempt to get part-time jobs. It is the title of the episode after all, and seeing poor Shigure do it on her own is sort of sad. And seeing the amount of effort that she goes to just to try to keep everybody afloat and try to keep, like, the house running, the pet shop going, like, because it's not just keeping the house going and, like, keeping everybody fed and making payments, like making rent. It's also trying to make payments to the bank to open the pet shop in the first place and then take care of the animals on top of that. It's a lot of money is what I'm trying to say. And when you need a lot of money and you live in a fantasy world, what do? Yeah, you go to the bulletin board to see if there's anything that needs hunting. And in this case, it's a pair of griffins, or at least a griffin. They don't really specify. But the hero association in this world basically says, like, hey, if you guys need money, the demon beast killer could easily go take care of the griffins and, net yourself a pretty decent amount of cash. So you should probably go do that. And I was excited because I was like, Griffin, man, that's awesome. Buckbeak, like I said, Harry Potter nerd, deal with it. Anyway, so the idea of them hunting down a griffin was interesting. Now we all I can assume that we all knew where this was going. Genzo would, of course, try to not kill the griffins and instead just sort of adopt them. But I was thinking maybe they could sell the griffins for more than they would have got for the prize money anyway. So, on one hand, I was like, okay, well, maybe we'll actually fight them. And then on the other hand, I knew without a shadow of a doubt that that's not what's going to happen. However, I was surprised to see that while throughout the episode, there's moments of great animation because, again, the show is shockingly well animated when it feels like. Not all the time, when it feels like it. And this week, they decided to throw out the animation on a couple, like, faces and a couple, like, movements, but, like, not against the griffins. Like, the griffins, that whole scene is mostly played for comedy specifically, and there's no, like, big action scene of, like, Genzo trying to pin one of the griffins down while they try to save the baby, who I believe they named Kyoko or something like that. It was surprising to see it used for, like, scenes that I wasn't like the high grade animation used for, like, reaction gifs essentially. So I was like, okay, that's weird. I would have used it during the fight with the griffin, but I mean, hey, I'm not the director, so I'm just gonna say that I was a little underwhelmed by the whole griffin encounter. I was expecting it to be much more of a big deal, but it's sort of just played for laughs and then brushed aside. That said, the gang are now the proud owners of a griffin, a fully grown griffin. That was very fast. But it just means there's yet another mouth to feed, so just when you think everything's screwed and they're not going to be able to pay rent, you remember that Shigure is a masterclass thief and totally stole the lost swords from that one dude. Heat, I don't remember, but that guy's hilarious. And she still has those swords, so she just sold the swords, and they were able to get by for another month, so there you go. I am curious to see how the show will address the money problem. We've seen other isekai have to bring this up a couple times, or like, how do they keep paying rent? So, we'll see how the gang holds up in that regard. But yeah, it's another really funny episode. Not my favorite episode. I do think maybe last week might be my favorite. I'm not super sure. I'll have to think a little bit more about it. But yeah, it was just another good time. Kemono Michi, or Rise Up, is just a really solid friggin' show. With that said, everybody, I'm gonna go ahead and put this one into the B tier. It is a solid B rank episode. It's not the funniest, it's not the most action-packed, but it is still another solid episode of Rise Up Animal Road. On that note, everybody, that just about wraps everything up. But before we go, as always, I want to give a big shout out to the good folks over on Patreon, namely those in the Earl Grey tier: Calvin Atkinson, Crowbar of Irony, Dominic, Urza, Ginkotaku, No For Nothing, Maria Teresa, Mirth Mouser, Omner Garamond, Cell, Shadow Creative, Sipco Games, Somastan, Steven, Tristan, and Verdon. Thank you all so much for your continued support over on Patreon, and hey, if you too would like to join the T Squadron, then by all means go ahead and check out that first link in the description to check out our Patreon page, see all the cool rewards you can get for as little as $1 a month, and get access to our Patreon exclusive Discord. But on that note, everybody, that's going to be a video, so I hope you all enjoyed, and if you did, you've probably been on the internet long enough to know what to do already, so I ain't going to tell you, but I will say that it is appreciated, and if you are feeling stressed out today, then you go have yourself a warm cup of tea, and I will talk to you all again real soon.